Hey everyone, this is Jack Bourne, founder of Deadline Funnel, and I'm here with Gabe Schillinger, who is a client of Deadline Funnel and just a super smart guy. Behind him in his studio, he's got several awards from the music industry and also from the marketing industry. And I would ask Gabe to show up on this call to share some of his experience and to tell us his story, his transformation in his business, and also how Deadline Funnel fits into that. And so, Gabe, thanks so much for being here.
Man, I'm excited. Happy to geek out with you. I appreciate the kind words, and you are a very smart guy and somebody I've watched and studied for a while. And I'm as we'll talk about, a big Deadline fan. So excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, so let's back up and talk about your story. So I mentioned the music industry. Why don't you take us back to your success in the music industry and where you are today, and how that transition happened?
Yeah, well, I'll start with my failure in the music industry, and then we can get to where we are today. So for me, I'm a music producer and engineer, generally working in sort of the hip hop and R&B space. So mainly working with rappers and singers. And as a producer, usually what I'm doing is creating the music that a rapper or singer is going to rap or sing to. So you'll hear me refer to beats. I'm not talking about the headphones or drums. That's the name for the instrumental, which is essentially the product that I sell or offer. And the way that I tried to sell or offer that product for years was the only way that I thought you could, which is essentially to sell it to record labels or work with artists that are signed to the big record labels, and then trying to get a check cut from that record label. And so that's kind of the traditional music industry route, right? And tried that out. Did actually okay, better than most. I sort of worked my way up the local hip hop scene here in the Bay Area in California. Got to work with a few, names even outside the Bay Area, like Kendrick Lamar and Snoop and a couple other people, and had some fun highlights. Heard my songs on the radio a few times, on TV. Went to see the Warriors play and got to hear my songs in the big arena there, and all the stuff where it's like, oh wow, that sounds like you probably kind of made it. But I was actually broke, frustrated. At that time, this was about 10 years ago. I was approaching 30 years old, and had moved back in at my dad's house, and not feeling great about where I was as a person. Just being frustrated with everything. And so I was kind of ready to give up on music and say, you know what, this is just, I'll do it for fun, but I'm going to have to find a real job. And ended up luckily trying, let me try selling beats online. Let me just give that a shot. And then from there, I'm super, super grateful that I actually did that before giving up, because that's what opened me up to this whole world of direct response marketing and funnels and all this cool stuff, that I'm excited to get into in a minute, that I just never had any interest in. I never thought of myself as a business owner, even though technically I had a studio. I sort of own a business, but never thought of myself as a marketer, an entrepreneur. I never had that identity. I just wanted to be the guy in the studio. I just wanted to make beats. I just wanted to, work on my craft. But when I started to learn some of these cool marketing things and then applying them and actually getting results and actually getting sales and getting my music out to more people, then I got excited about it. And then I was able to actually transfer, all that, or some of that excitement and creativity, passion, time, energy, all those resources that I just only put into my music. I realized I could actually put that into my marketing, and not only will it get me these cool results, it's actually pretty fun. And so for me, that's like a big, and then the result from there was, able to do the first 6-figure launch in my industry, and now grown that business 7 figures, and then another business teaching producers how to do this and grown that to 7 figures. And so to me, it's like, I love to geek out on all these little specifics of that I'm sure we'll get into, but also like for creative entrepreneurs, for musicians specifically, is usually, is who I speak to a lot of times. If nothing else, getting across that point that it can actually be really fun. And just like creating music is fun, building these campaigns can be really fun. And it's the same idea. You're taking that fan, that audience, that customer through a journey with your music. Same thing with your funnel, your campaign. And it sounds dumb, maybe if you're a musician, you're like, there's no way. But the messages that I love to get the most these days is, not, I love to see, hey, I'm making this revenue goal. Hey, I was able to quit my day job. That's amazing. But the favorite messages I get was, hey, before I, came across you, I used to hate marketing, I used to hate business, and now I'm excited about entrepreneurship. Now I'm growing my business, I'm working on my music and having fun doing both. And to me, when you're combining those things, now you have ownership. You're not relying on the music industry. You are your own business, and that's the message that I like to get out there these days.
Isn't that amazing to have that feedback from your clients? It's the same thing that I love, and it really fuels me. And I love to share with my team when an entrepreneur says, "Man, your platform, what you guys have created, your training, etc., has really helped take my business to the next level. And I wouldn't be able to do what I do, and I'm able to support my family. Thank you so much." And so when those messages come through, that just really makes my month. So
yeah, and by the way, let me take this opportunity to say, Deadline Funnel has been a huge part of what I've been able to do. It's something that has definitely, when you're in music, any niche is tough. There's no business that's easy to start, but music is really hard, and so having these not little, but these ninja hacks like Deadline Funnel really literally make the difference between a business being profitable and one that you have to give up on. So I'm super grateful because it's one of the things that's allowed me to actually stay in business long enough to start, getting some momentum and continue to grow to where I am today. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. It's like I said, comments like that are what I live for. So thank you for sharing that. Why don't you just give us a little bit deeper, just slightly deeper insight into how you use Deadline Funnel in your business, because that might give someone inspiration and some ideas about how they could also, do the same in their business.
Yeah, for sure. So I've used them in all kinds of different types of funnels. One of them is in sort of this viral contest giveaway funnel. But essentially the idea is we're doing a viral giveaway where people opt in, they're incentivized to bring other people in. They get points and prizes when they're for other people. And as part of that funnel, we'll be selling, usually a low ticket item. It's sort of like a self-liquidating offer type of funnel. And so a lot of times what we'll do is we'll say, even though we're running this contest for, let's say, 6 months or however long we're running it for, when you opt in, we only give them 7 days to make that first purchase. And so what ends up happening is now there's some actual urgency. If they opt in and they see, oh, this contest goes for 6 months, there's no urgency for them to buy that first thing. In my case, it's a beat pack for rappers and singers, but it could go for anything. And so adding that urgency is through Deadline Funnel by saying, hey, if you opt in on day one, whatever your day one is, you have 7 days to buy this before either the offer goes away or the price increases. I've done both and both work great. So that way I'm increasing my conversions. That's what allows me to now, increase my ad spend and bring more people in and ultimately be more profitable. So that's one version. I've also used it. So I've used Deadline Funnel for webinars, and I've used them both for auto webinars and actually also for live webinars. I'll start with the live webinar because I find it's kind of like a great hack, and I think maybe I don't know, maybe when people think of Deadline Funnel, they just think of sort of these evergreen things. But for me, it's been great because I'll do a live webinar. For a while I was doing them every week and then kind of sporadically, and now it's sort of, every once in a while. And so what I'll have is I have 2 deadlines. I have one deadline, which is when the webinar actually starts, and then another webinar when the offer ends, right? So we'll usually do the webinar on a Thursday, and then I'll have till Sunday before the price goes up or the deal goes away. And so what I'll do is I'll just have those be fixed rate deadlines, but whenever I'm doing my new one, I can just go ahead and insert the deadline for when the webinar is going to be and when the deadline for the thing to buy is. And now I've got everything inserted. So all of the emails when they opt in, on the page where they opt in, it'll say, here's when the webinar is. Then once they opt in, after Thursday, when they go to the replay page or to the order form, now they're seeing that countdown until Sunday, until that next one. And instead of having to go in and on every single order form page, every opt-in page, every email, go and update all these different timers, I literally just change it in those 2 places. And now every single time we do a live webinar, everything just works. Everything's in place. Bam, they know when it starts. They know, when the deadline is. If they go there past the deadline, it'll redirect to an order form with a higher price. And so that's really helped. That's what, we've been able to actually grow that business to over 7 figures. We did over, we got a 2 Comma Club award for just that process, just this one webinar, selling this one course, using Deadline Funnel, a combination of live and then also an auto webinar as well.
Very, very cool. So this is sort of like you're hitting the reset button and just moving it out to a future date. You've done it in the past, and now you're going to do it again as a live webinar, yes. Right? Very cool. Very, very cool. So you mentioned this other recording that we just did, and there's something that you mentioned that I just want to bring up because I thought this was really smart. And so anyone who's purchased something, so let me set the context for the self-liquidating offer. In the previous recording that we did, you mentioned that one way that you've done this in the past is that it was an upgrade to the lead magnet that they already opted in for. And I believe, if I understood correctly, the example that you gave from your previous promotions was something where the free lead magnet was a certain set of licenses to Beats, but then the upgrade was a more powerful license that gave them expanded rights. Do I have that correct? And can you talk a little bit about that?
That's exactly right. Yeah, and so a lot of times that's, if you are going to do that type of funnel, which is very common, where there's like, here's a lead magnet, here's something free, right? And that's a great way to get people to opt in the first place. And but now you want to capitalize on that, and you want to sell them something. Which, by the way, I want to mention something. This, like, I know everybody has their own process, right? And different things work for different audiences and whatever. I've always found I want to give them that offer right away, because to me, one version is, okay, you have them opt in for the free thing, and then you have a 7-day email sequence, and on day 7 you finally mention, hey, I have this thing for sale. But if you look at those, those email open rates, you might have a 20 or 30% open rate on that last email and whatever percentage click. So now it's like very few people, a very small percentage of the people who opted in the first place are even going to see that offer. So to me, it's like, I want them to opt in and pretty much all of the time see an offer right away. That's just for me. I'd like, why not? I paid for this lead through Facebook or one way or another. Like, why not? If they just opted in, they're probably the most excited they're in momentum. So that's one thing is that tends to be my general philosophy. Obviously it depends on the situation, but I think sometimes people are scared to sell, and it's like, just, if that's the way that you can serve your audience the best, and you have a great product, then sell them right away, because that's when they're most likely to buy.
Well, I think so. One of the things that I haven't heard spoken about enough is that I think the self-liquidating offers that I've seen work the best are the ones where you're not selling them something new on that thank you page. It's really an upgrade. Like, you've already sold them, so to speak, on the free lead magnet. And so you're not saying, oh, now that you've opted in for A, let's talk about B. It's really a better version of A that they've already opted in for. So an example, and I want to turn this back over to you as soon as I give this example, but another example would be everyone who has ever registered for a free virtual summit. It's, you see the list of speakers, you see the topic, you're obviously interested, or else you wouldn't register. And then on the thank you page, they're not selling you something different. It's the recordings for these things. So you don't have to attend live. And so it's an upgrade to what they already opted in for. So with that, let me hand it back to you. What do you say to that?
Super important. Yes, absolutely. So, you want your lead magnet to be something that, first of all, qualifies somebody as a potential customer, right? So just like we talked about in that last one, if you're doing a giveaway and you're talking about your grand prize, same thing with your lead magnet, you want it to be something that's exciting to your customers, but not to everybody else. So that's the first thing, is don't offer them some general thing that, people who are not your potential customers are going to be interested in. So for me, if I'm selling to rappers or singers and I'm going to be selling them beats, I can just offer them some free beats. It's like a cheat code. That's kind of an easy one, right? And then it's just the natural progression from there, right? And that's, okay, they already want this thing. They opted in for this thing, this free thing. So now it's just a natural progression for them to upgrade that thing. Or let's say you're selling information. Maybe the lead magnet is, maybe you have a whole framework for how to, increase sales with urgency. Great. So maybe the lead magnet is sort of like step 1 of that 5-step framework. Now the first thing you're selling could be that full training that gives you step 4, 5, and 6. So something that's a natural progression or an upgrade is super important. And actually, same thing on your upsells. This is something that I've noticed as well. And again, this varies depending on sort of the industry and different things like that. But I noticed when we were doing our contest, we had some upsells that were just some beat packs, right? And they did okay. They were, I think we had some OTOs. I think the first one was like, 10 or 12%. The second one was like 4 or 5%. Not great. I'd like to see better on OTO or upsell, meaning, the
one-time offer. Yep.
Yes, exactly. The one-time offer. As soon as we said, hey, if you get this beat pack in this upsell, you also get an additional entry into the contest. All of a sudden we went to 30% on the first OTO and like 12% on the second one, a huge increase. And so what it says is the same thing that you're talking about here, which is sort of like they're there for this thing. They're in this mindset of, okay, I just entered this contest. Now I want more things related to that, an upgrade to that. So it's the same thing. It's having it's having something cohesive. It's not just like this other random thing. It relates to it in a certain way. And I'll just give one sort of caveat. This is something that I learned from Russell Brunson. If you are selling information, you probably don't want the upsell or the next thing to be more of the same information or to solve the exact same problem. Because in their mind, they've kind of like, well, I already solved that problem with this previous. So it's the previous product. So it's maybe how can I get that, faster or easier? Or maybe what is the next step? Like, cool, I figured out, you taught me how to work out better, but now you're going to teach me, the meal plan or something, but tie it back into whatever sort of your bigger theme. So hopefully that makes sense. I think it's a little different with information compared to if you're selling like beats or templates or something like that. You can kind of just do more of the same thing.
Yeah, so to pick up on that last example, I'll give an example from my past business experience. Many years ago, I sold a WordPress plugin that helped people to increase the rate at which people would opt into their list. And on the thank you page, the upsell was, hey, you're going to be adding a whole bunch of your list is going to be growing really, really fast, but it's not going to do you any good if you don't know what emails to send them. So here's an email copywriting course that we've teamed up with this amazing email copywriter so that you know what to say, how frequently to say it, et cetera. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time growing your list that, you're sending the wrong thing. You're not emailing them often enough, et cetera. So that sold really, really well. Nice. So that was sort of like the next problem. Like, okay, great. Now that your list is going to grow, what's the next problem? The next problem is you need to be competent at writing powerful emails, or else having a big list isn't going to do anything for you. So does that fall in line with what you're describing?
100%. And I would just even add on to that, sometimes more information will work, and sometimes it's not necessarily more information, but it's more tools or resources, right? So again, maybe the first thing is a mini training about using urgency and scarcity, and then the upsell is the deadline funnel software, where it's like, this is just going to do it for you. You know what I mean? That's like that's better, right? Or a template or a script or something. Because sometimes there can be too much information. So I'd just add that little thing onto it. But definitely that's the idea, is just, what's the next thing, or what's the next logical progression, or what's the upgrade, as opposed to just something completely random and different that you just hope they're going to want to buy, because they probably won't.
So Gabe, even though we weren't intending on doing a geek out session on OTOs and self-like reviewing offers, I appreciate you sharing this, because this is really, really powerful stuff. And I know no matter what level someone is at, there's going to be some gems of wisdom that they can apply in their own business. So thank you, Gabe. I really appreciate it. And thanks so much for sharing.
Man, my pleasure.